I don't have a big fancy intro today. There's just too much going on. We've got a blizzard unfolding across the northern plains into the Great Lakes with high wind warnings up for gusts into the 60s. We've got another big winter storm on tap for next week, bringing snow to many of the same areas. Winter is coming in like a lion. Severe weather's out there today in the southeast. We've got to talk about that. And the models are all backtracking on what they saw as a big warm up, especially in the south and east. As we get on in toward the 10-day period, we're starting to see a reversal of that. I told you the other day I didn't think they were picking up on tropical forcing very well. I even posted on X this morning showing some of that data. We're going to take a look at that here too in just a few minutes. I'm going to show you why you shouldn't be concerned if you see a few red areas on some of these model charts that pop up frequently, but some of that is going by the wayside rather quickly as winter comes in and we turn the page on November, head into December. MJO expected to still move into phase 8. A lot of things to be encouraged about if you're a winter weather lover. If not, well, not so much. This show maybe isn't for you, but in any event, we're going to start here with a satellite image, and you can see much of the nation across the north and east under significant cloud cover with heavy snow falling out from under these clouds up here in South Dakota, North Dakota into Minnesota. Some rain still in central and southern Minnesota, but that will be changing to snow, and blizzard warnings are up, high winds and thunderstorms down here in the south as well. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch, severe weather expected this afternoon in parts of Alabama and Georgia. And then more rain and snow coming into the Pacific Northwest. As a matter of fact, if we take a look at the radar there, you have it. Snow, Aberdeen, the snow showers have worked out of Pierre, Bismarck, Fargo, and on up here toward International Falls, looking at northern Minnesota with snow. Minneapolis, St. Paul, you're still in the heavy rain, but that is going to transition to snow as this system continues to strengthen, wind up, and head into the Great Lakes. And boy, it's got its sights set on northern Wisconsin into the UP of Michigan for some very heavy snow. There are some thunderstorms rolling through Alabama, parts of Alabama, Montgomery, and to Atlanta. Later today, you're going to see some thunderstorms and possibly severe weather. A lot of rain up here in the interior sections of the Northeast and parts of the Ohio Valley as well. That's moving east. Some of you guys are going to get in on that. Some of the Southeast is going to get in on some rain, and there's rain moving into Washington State and Oregon, and we're looking at some snow in the higher elevations up there. This chart here, this is our alerts map. It is really up. Set up good here. I want to get on a display where we can kind of zoom this in and you can see this a little bit better. There it is. Look at these high wind warnings here up for Nebraska into South Dakota. Wind advisories in the brown and winter weather advisories in kind of this purple periwinkle color. Pink is winter storm warnings and red is blizzard warnings. And look at this up here in northern Wisconsin and toward Marquette. You're looking at blizzard conditions tomorrow. Here in South Dakota, you're seeing those today, but heavy snow with high winds likely tomorrow and tonight here in Minnesota into Wisconsin, and winter weather advisories back up here out in the west. Winter storm watches as well up into Montana, and severe thunderstorm watch. Actually, that's a tornado watch. My fault. That's a tornado watch down here in Alabama for this afternoon. So we've got a lot going on. Take a quick look at some of the snowfall expectations over the next 24 hours. This is out of the Aberdeen office, and we're looking at up to 10 inches potentially up here toward Britain and Wheaton, 5 to 9, where you see this sort of this light yellow color. We're looking at 6 to 8, something like that, and then 8 to 12 in the darker orange, and then of course the blue. The scale is over here if you can see it. The dark blue is 4 to 6. We're looking at Eureka, Aberdeen, Watertown, and over into Canby, looking at about 6 inches of snow potentially, and a little bit more of that south of those areas. If we go in here and take a look at Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities, seeing certainly less in the way of snow down here in the Twin Cities as you will be up here toward Hayward, where you could pick up 8 to 14 inches. So a lot of snow across the north. Remember, high winds with this too, so at least 5 to 9 inches here in Alexandria and up into Brainerd over into Hinckley, looking at a lot of snow up there, maybe close to a foot. And then as we get on in toward Wisconsin, UP of Michigan, we're going to really be talking about a lot of snow with blizzard conditions. A lot of reports of snowfall will be expected across much of Minnesota this afternoon. And keep in mind, we're going to have winds gusting into the 40s as well. And then looking at Marquette, boy, oh boy, we could see some areas up here picking up close to 2 feet of snow. Look at this, 27 to 40 up here in the higher terrain up around Ironwood. And then over toward Marquette, we're looking at plenty of opportunity for snow as well, 18 to maybe 20 inches up here in some of these areas bordering on Lake Superior. So really, really, really going to feel like winter as it comes in like a lion. We'll take a look here at the future radar and see how this plays out. This is where we are now with snow in northern Minnesota. That will be crashing, that snow line will be crashing south as the system continues to wind up, pull that cold air in on the backside, a deformed band setting up with intense snow rates just to the north of that system and along it and behind it. And again, it will be strengthening. So those vertical velocities are going up, and that will be produce some very, very heavy snow and then rain out ahead of it. Then as we get on in toward the morning hours tomorrow, Wisconsin, you're all in the snow. Still up here, a little bit of rain here in parts of the UP of Michigan toward Marquette, but that will change to snow through the day tomorrow, and that snow will come down and be whiteout conditions with a lot of blowing snow. And then behind that is that we get on in toward the evening hours tomorrow, that lake effect snow machine kicks up. And if I roll this along and turn this over into another view here, you can see Great Lakes view, and you see all of these snow bands setting up as the warm waters of the lakes are providing instability for that cool air aloft. As it trucks over the lakes, you'll see that lake effect snow machine kick up, and these snow bands just sit here and they will dump snow. And you could see up to a foot or even two of snow where these snow bands just sit up and spin over the same areas for a couple of days. So we'll have to watch that, but to expect some snow up in Erie and over toward Buffalo into Watertown, places like Utica. We'll see some snow as well, Ithaca, and back end toward Albany. You guys are going to pick up some snow from some of these snow bands. Of course, where they set up, in the lake effect snow sense, where the snow bands set up is where you really get the snow to pile up quickly, and then you can move a mile or two away and you don't see much of anything. But that's what's going on the snow side of things. Over here in the severe weather realm down here in the southeast, yesterday we saw a few reports of wind and certainly some damage as a result of that. Saw some debris blown around and a couple of shingles off some roofs and some trees blown over. We also saw a couple of tornado reports down here in West or East Texas rather, and then on the border of Louisiana and Mississippi here. So certainly we have seen severe weather, and that is still in the picture today down here and mostly in Alabama, stretching into southern Georgia, central Georgia, where we have a slight risk. That is a level 2 out of 5 for tornadoes, wind, and hail, all possible. A little extra spin in the atmosphere as that upper level disturbance we looked at the other day kind of moves through. That will be dampening out, fortunately, but some of these storms are spinning and rotating and could see a couple of tornadoes come down to the ground. So be on the lookout for that. Now, if we take a look here at the radar, let's get on a better display here and do it this way. You can already see severe thunderstorm warnings firing up just south of Birmingham, and certainly some of these other cells look pretty scary over here, starting to produce some hail signatures as well, and that will persist through the evening hours as we take a look at this and how this all plays out tonight. So we're looking at about 5 o'clock East Coast time now, and then we roll this on forward, and you can see those thunderstorms sort of look discrete, and those are where you might find rotation in the discrete supercell structure of some of these storms. And as we go on through the evening hours, those will congeal into more of a linear fashion and weaken as we lose the heating of the day. And to get on in toward late evening, a line of showers and thunderstorms will push through and south of Atlanta, get on in toward Greenville, Spartanburg, and head toward Charlotte into the Burlington, Greensboro triad area and move on through. So by Wednesday morning, that will all be mostly done here in North Carolina. I have a few maybe move through the triangle areas. We get on into early morning, and then down east and South Carolina and Georgia. This line will be dissipating as it works through tomorrow as that energy continues to dampen out aloft. And then not to leave our friends out here in the Northwest high and dry, and they're not going to be high and dry. They're going to be low and wet. Well, some of you are going to be high and snowy, but a lot of rain is going to fall in the lower elevations, and a lot of snow is going to fall in the higher terrain up here. Could see several inches fall in the Olympics and over into the Cascades as we go on in and approach tomorrow morning. Things will kind of wind down, and as you go through the day on Wednesday, you'll see a little bit of clouds and rain still persisting in the Northwest, and we get through the overnight hours and approach Thursday morning. Another big system rolls in with more rain and more snow, keeping you guys very cool and very wet and dreary up there. Now, taking a look, kind of a little bit of a longer lead, I'm going to roll this forward here. This is the European operational And I'm showing you this just to show you what's coming next week. We get the system here rolling through the Midwest and Great Lakes today, another piece of energy working through. And look at that, just winds up 993 millibar low pressure system, gets on up into Canada, delivers that big cold Arctic punch that we're looking at. It's going to feel like Arctic air behind some of this, where the snowpack is up here in the Midwest and Great Lakes, and over into the Northeast. We'll see some very, very cold temperatures, but grazing parts of the Tennessee Valley and the Southeast, it's still going to feel like a winter day. Don't get me wrong. Cold air advection's coming in. It's going to be windy, and we're going to see plenty of chilly weather for the next couple of days, Saturday, Sunday, and start to warm back up again. And look what happens on Saturday evening. Another low pressure winding up in the plains, bringing more heavy snow to Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, into Michigan, and on up into the Great Lakes again. Several more inches of snow will fall. A frontal system will be attached obviously to this low, and as that front works through the southeast, we'll see a period of rain down here, maybe some thunderstorms too, but not looking at a big severe weather event just yet. But more energy kind of hanging out here could spawn a little weak low off the coast as the European sees it as we get on in toward Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And then another wave in the southern stream could potentially spark some rain over the southeast, and snow could fall as we get up toward the end of the middle and end of next week up here in interior sections of the mid-Atlantic. It's just not going to be quite cold enough for this to be a big winter storm, but I like the track of it, and we'll see this track deeper into winter. We're probably going to have some cold air to work with and keep us more frozen in nature. And look at this, the GFS, same story. I'm not just cherry picking models. There's good agreement on that big blizzard that's out there now. Of course, it's happening, and there should be good agreement on it. But look what the GFS does next week. Again, same areas get hit just like the European did with that storm system, and then it fires that weak low pressure off the coast too. And then another system comes in. It actually brings some snow back into Virginia, into the Piedmont of North Carolina, and the Canadian actually brings some ice through here. So there are some signals that we could see a little bit of cold air with this system, just enough to get a little bit of a taste of winter in here in the portions of Virginia, maybe even some backside snow in the mountains as we get into mid next week. So what was looking like a big torch pattern now all of a sudden has a couple of opportunities for some winter weather a little bit farther to the south. That's why you listen to Cold Rain when Cold Rain watches the pattern for you and tells you that some things are not looking all that right with the modeling when they're showing lots and lots of wall-to-wall warmth when tropical forcing really doesn't support it, and some other things too. So we're starting to see the models correct a little bit, and we'll see if that trend continues. I will keep you posted for sure on that, just so you see some snowfall maps. Hate to get you all the way through the show and not show you anything that you want to see in terms of snowfall. Always like a good snowfall map. Look at this. There's the big blizzard winding up, 2 feet of snow potentially up here on the border of Wisconsin and Michigan there. More snow up here in the Cascades, northern Cascades. Next week, new system comes in as we get on out in toward early part of next week, late into the weekend, early part of the week. See that other system drop some more snow. We go on out in time, and look at that. Even some snow in West Virginia as we get toward the end of the following week, 10 days out and beyond. We always love a good 10 to 15-day snow map, and the European certainly glaciates the northern part of the country pretty efficiently. Now look at this. We talked about models doing flip-flop. Look at this. This is a trend GIF, and it just shows you the last several runs of a model centered on the same time frame, and we're really looking at about 11 days out or so from here. But what the models were showing with a big orange colored southeast ridge here, look what they're replacing it with. A big trough in the eastern portion of the country and an enhanced signal for ridging out here in the west. Remember when I told you we're looking at tropical forcing? That's what I'm talking about. Models take time to pick up on that sometimes, particularly when you have a volatile pattern, and they tend to want to go to a La Nina climo, and well, atmosphere doesn't always work like that. So this is the European ensemble, which is a very good model to look at. Now, all models have their flaws, especially as you get farther out in time, but this is a indication that the pattern may be colder than what we were looking at in the modeling over the last several days. Okay, so don't lose hope just because you see a 10-15 day ridge in the southeast or the east coast. Okay, if you're out here on the in the I-95 cities and you want to see snow, you don't want to see orange colors, you want to see blue colors. And so that's what we're starting to revert to. Here is another kind of sample of that. Look at this. This is the European itself, and I wanted to show you what the actual European model shows as we get on out to 11 days and 12 days out. Look what happens as we get on out here toward December the 9th. Look at that big blue anomaly. That is a very cold air mass that is settling in. There's energy in the southern stream, and if things time out right, you could have a big winter storm if this is true. But look at this big block up here. We talk about the EPO. This is a massive EPO ridge. Air is coming straight out of the pole. You got a PNA ridge out here keeping that ridging on the west coast, allowing all of that flow to just come out of Canada, spilling out of the Arctic, and you get a big trough in the east. That would be very cold. This is again December the 9th. And again, this is the European operational. It's not a forecast. It's just something to look at that was showing a complete opposite scenario just a few runs ago. Okay, so matter of fact, let's look at what 12Z yesterday had for this time period. Look at that. EPO ridge in the Aleutians, big trough in the west, and a big ridge along the east coast. My, what the difference 24 hours makes, okay? You understand where I'm going with this now, folks? Hope it's interesting to you. This is the European AI ensembles, and you can see the orange getting and yellows getting squashed farther and farther south, again, centered out here just beyond day 10. Look at these lower heights building in. This is very cold air up here in eastern Canada, and it is pushing this southeast ridge down, and that would allow for a farther south storm track for a potential winter storm. I'm not forecasting a winter storm. I'm just telling you that the pattern doesn't look as warm as all those maps on X were showing just a couple of days ago. There's your total snowfall for the European ensembles. Even has a signal for a weak signal, but a signal for snow here through the Tennessee Valley back into parts of the northern sections of Texas and things like that. So this is your European ensembles, and here is the run to run temperature change. So this was the last run versus this run at 850 millibars, and we're looking at that level about a mile up off the ground. And how did the temperature change over the last two runs? It got a lot colder here in the eastern portion of the country, especially the southeast, a lot warmer here across the north. So I'm telling you, things are starting to change to the skew colder as we get closer to some of these time periods. And what would that actually mean in terms of temperatures? Well, there you go. Several degrees below normal, I would say, maybe in the realm of 8 to 10 degrees below normal in some spots, and a little bit more in the way of normal here along the southeast, and then back into Florida, you're above normal in terms of your temperatures. But that's what we're looking at. Just move that along, and it just squashes that southeast ridge until we get on out here till the 300-hour mark, and it wants to warm us all back up again. And I bet we know what's going to happen with that. We'll just keep our eyes peeled on it. And if you take a look here at the Canadian, I told you it was showing a couple of winter storms. There's one as we get on in towards Sunday, looking at a little bit of freezing rain here along the escarpment and the foothills of North Carolina. I'm not forecasting this, but the Canadian's showing it. And so it's interesting to pay attention to. I don't think that'll happen. But then the big one comes beyond that mid next week, looking at a major ice storm if the Canadian is to be believed for parts of the Tennessee Valley up in here into West Virginia and much of North Carolina. Again, this is we see this a lot. Let me just put it this way. In the wintertime, you're going to see a lot of maps like this, and without context, it can scare you. If we saw this much freezing rain, this would be a very devastating ice storm. Is it going to happen? It's very unlikely. But there are some tweaks that can be made to the system next week in the southeast that could bring some winter weather to parts of the Tennessee Valley or the southeast. That's the takeaway here when it looked like it was going to be a torch. Now it looks like we could potentially have some winter weather in parts of the area. And here's the actual GFS freezing rain. See, it has a lot less freezing rain for the entire end of the period. That's 2 weeks out. Takes us to Thursday, December the 7th or December the 11th, and a lot less freezing rain. It's got some snow north of this freezing rain here, but not a lot of it. As a matter of fact, if we take a look here at the total snowfall for the GFS, I'll just show you. Again, this is a 2-week projection for the operational GFS, and you can see a couple little areas here with some snow, but it's not nearly as robust as the European was, and I think the GFS is a little bit too warm still where it needs to go, but again, it's operational. We're looking 2 weeks out. So that's the show for today, folks. I had a lot to do today. I couldn't really sit down and be as organized as I wanted to, but I hope that gives you an idea. The big takeaways here, we got big blizzard that's unfolding across the northern tier into the Great Lakes. We've got another big storm system that's forecast for many of those same areas next week. It's going to drop some more snow. It's going to be cold Thanksgiving, and it's going to warm up through the weekend in the east, and especially get to the later portion of the weekend. And then we're going to see an active pattern continue with longer range signals still showing or supporting a colder pattern than some of the models have been showing, and you're starting to see some of the models correct to that. And as we get on out toward December, I bet we're going to have some fun tracking winter storms in this area here. So we're going to pay attention as we get on out, but I believe we'll start to see some signals for winter storms. And that's the show for today. I'll be back tomorrow morning and have another show out in the morning, or another video I should call it. But that's it for today, folks. Anyway, Jason here, hoping you have a great afternoon, and follow me on X at Real Cold Rain. I'll be posting there as things, interesting things come up and I find something that's, well, I think you'll like. All right, take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.